Hi everybody, my name is Kaylie and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Okay everybody, I'm filming this on Thanksgiving, so happy late Thanksgiving because you guys are going to be seeing this on Saturday. Sorry I didn't post last weekend. If some of you didn't know, my birthday was on Monday, so I celebrated on the weekend. I'm sorry for not posting. I just turned 22 and I don't really know how to feel about it. Not very thrilled, not accepting the fact that I'm getting older. But I just wanted to tell you guys that I am thankful for each and every one of you. You guys make me so happy, and I would not be where I am today without you guys. Like, I'm literally so thankful for all of the endless love and support you guys give, and I'm so happy that my videos can be comforting to some of you. I have read some of your DMs telling me that my videos have helped you through hard times, and that literally means the most to me. That's what like keeps me motivated to keep filming for you guys. Sadly, I am not spending Thanksgiving with my family, but I hope all of you were able to have a good Thanksgiving with your family. But without further ado, let's get into today's story time. I'm going to bring you guys up close. There we go. Okay, so for those of you who may be new here, I'm going to do my quick usual little rundown. For most of the video, I'll be looking in this direction because my mirror's over here and I would like to see what I'm doing. I do tell these story times in a first person point of view, so if you don't like that, then you can leave.
There's the door. There's the door, bitch!
And these story times are sent in by anonymous people. Okay, so story time about how my ex-best friend tried to ruin my current best friend's life. Literally. So a little background information. I was around 13 or 14 whenever this happened. Well, 13, 14, or 15 whenever this happened. And this all happened between 8th and 10th grade. So per usual, we are going to rewind a little bit. Actually, we're gonna rewind back to whenever I was in kindergarten. So I never knew my biological dad because he was convinced that I was not his kid. Yep. He was one of those. But I'm not even gonna lie, I think it was one of those things where he knew that I was his kid, but just didn't want to accept it. Like, we even got multiple paternity tests that all came back positive. Like, the delusion was insane, okay? I mean, but was it really though? Because he was the type that if he thinks the doctors are wrong, they're wrong and there's no convincing him otherwise. So yeah, like I said, I barely knew him. He was honestly, at that point, he was just a sperm donor. Nothing more. But eventually my mom had started dating this one guy who I actually looked at as a father figure. Well, actually, one of the only people that I've ever looked at as a father figure. Sadly, he was only in the picture for 3 years before him and my mom split. Now, don't get me wrong, he was great. He really was, but he did have some flaws. He sadly struggled with an alcohol and gambling addiction.
Yeah, double homicide.
Bitch.
No, I'm sorry.
So he was not always present. Not only that, but there was so much more baggage that came along with him. Like, not only was it the addictions, but his ex-wife was in jail for tax fraud, and then his daughter was off somewhere, but he couldn't get custody of her because of his troubled past and his current struggles. The whole situation overall was just really sad, especially for my mom, but thankfully she realized that she should not have to deal with this shit. So eventually my mom decided to move us in with my grandparents because she just wanted us to be removed from the whole situation, whether that meant living in the struggle for a little bit, because anything was better than the situation that we were dealing with. Well, it ended up taking us a few months to get back onto our feet, but eventually we were able to move out of my grandparents' home and into our current home, which I was super proud of my mom. Like, go mom, purr. Because for it to only take a few months, I was just so proud of her. By the way, I apologize if you guys can hear everyone outside. There's so many people down at my pool right now and they're being loud as fuck. So like I said, we moved into this new place, and conveniently we moved in right around the time when school was starting up. Now, I was shy, okay? Well, actually not just shy. That is a complete understatement. I was extremely introverted, which sucked because it made it 10 times harder for me to make friends. Like, for the first few months of school, I had no friends at all. And it's not even that the kids around me were mean or anything like that. It was literally just the fact that I did not make an effort to talk to anyone.
Hey, good morning, Kaylie.
Shut the fuck up.
Ugh, I remember whenever I was the new kid in school, it was absolutely awful. Like, I remember I started kindergarten late, and y'all, at first I was so excited, and all the kids in there were looking at me like I was an alien. Because, you know, when you come in late, everybody already made their friends, you know, and nobody wants to talk to the new kid. I also got puked on in kindergarten. was a rough time for me. But we're not talking about me. That's neither here nor there. The point is, I have experienced the anxiety that comes with being the new kid. Anyways, back to the story. So yeah, like I said, I barely talked to anybody, and it got so bad to the point where my mom actually considered putting me into therapy because she was so worried about me. But thankfully, before this could happen, I ended up making a friend who we are going to call Lola. Now, don't get me wrong, I was extremely happy and grateful to have made a friend, but she was very different, to say the least, and not in a good way. She was extremely outgoing and talkative. Like, she would quite literally never shut the f up. Oh, and it's not even like she was just talkative, right? No, it could never be that simple. She also had no filter. Now, I know some of you are probably thinking like, oh, that's not always a bad thing. I agree. Sometimes not having a filter and being real is a good thing, but being real and not having a filter is completely different than being a dick. Like, this girl would say whatever she wanted, whenever she wanted. For example, if you were to be like, OMG, my dog died. Like, my dog got ran over by a car or died from old age. Instead of being sympathetic, she was the person that was like, well, that sounds like your fault. What did you do? Yeah, that was Lola. But yeah, honestly, she was just a dick. And do y'all want to know what her excuse was for being a dick? My brother died when he was 3 months old. That was her excuse for being a dick. And then she would add on and she would be like, my brother died when he was 3 months old, so I learned differently. Like, she had the get out of jail free card that you were only able to use for so long, because girl, that shit expires eventually. Okay. Like, go somewhere else with that shit. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not being insensitive or anything, because I can understand if he had just passed away, you know, it was still new and fresh, and you know, she just really didn't care about anybody else's feelings. Everybody else's problems seemed super insignificant. But this happened years ago. Like, this was not fun and fresh. This was old and expired. But yeah, like I said, this was her excuse for quite literally everything. For example, when we were younger, the one time she had gotten mad at me for something, so she went and told my mom that I was playing with her dolls inappropriately. And when she admitted to lying, what was her excuse? My brother died. I would have been like, okay, that's great, honey. Now go in the fucking corner. Like, where are your fucking parents that are enabling this bullshit? But even though Lola was a ton of drama and just a handful to deal with, I still stayed friends with her because she was my only friend at the time. Well, finally, over a little bit of time, I started to make more friends, and eventually all of them started telling me how much of a bad friend she was. And they were right, of course, but I still kept being friends with her because, you know, she was my first best friend. Well, finally, I saw quite a bit of a change in myself whenever I had gotten into middle school. Like, I became super outgoing and more confident in myself. But, ooh, let me tell you, Lola did not like this at all. Like, sis was not having it, for real. I didn't notice it then, but she became even more manipulative than she was before. For example, you know, we get into middle school, we're in 6th grade, I start making new friends, that was a problem. Like, she was allowed to make friends, but I was not allowed to. She was one of those very possessive friends where you couldn't hang out or talk to anybody else, but they could have 40 million different fucking friends. Well, it got so bad to the point where she realized I wasn't gonna stop being friends with these people. So what does she do? She starts making up lies about them. Very sickening, awful lies about these children. And I felt so bad because it's like, okay, now becoming friends with me is like a social death wish, because if you do start being my friend, you're gonna have to worry about people starting rumors about you. For example, she would be like, oh my god, those girls are such whores. I don't know why you're hanging out with them. You're gonna be labeled as a whore now. Don't hang out with those girls. They steal people's boyfriends. Oh my god, you're friends with them? I heard they do drugs in the bathroom. Like, y'all, we are in 6th grade. Like, sis was only 12 years old and already a certified hater. But then get this, right? She would start these rumors about these kids and, you know, want me to stop being friends with them. And then all of a sudden, a week or two later, they're best friends.
Oh my god! Wow!
But me being very naive and trusting, I thought she was just looking out for me, you know? Like, she didn't want me to get my boyfriend stolen. She didn't want anybody to persuade me to do drugs in the bathroom. Like, she was really looking out for me. What a real one. You guys need to take notes.
We cannot be laughing about this shit right now.
Oh, I don't think that shit's funny at all.
Anyways, no, but seriously, I was getting super tired of her fucking lying 24/7. It was very annoying. And she lied for no reason about everything, like the smallest things. Like, fast forward to 7th grade, she tried out for the cheer team and she was super excited because she could, quote, be on the big team, like she was finally old enough for that. After she made the team, she would talk about how all the football players would flirt with her and they all wanted to go out with her so badly, and she didn't know which one to choose because they were all over her. Yeah, not true, but me being her best friend, I believed her and I was happy for her. You know, I would hype her up. But yeah, it was just weird, stupid little things that she would lie about for no reason. So anyways, like I said, fast forward to 7th grade. This is gonna make me sound like a shitty friend, but I ended up making some new friends and I would talk shit on Lola with these new friends. And I don't mean like we would make up rumors or anything, nothing like that, but I would tell them like all the weird shit that she would pull, like the getting jealous when I would make new friends, the lying, the making up rumors about people just so that way I wouldn't be friends with them. Anyway, so now fast forward to 8th grade. Over the summer, I matured a lot, to say the least. Like, after 7th grade, my body was like, okay sis, we're ready for a fucking glow up. Like, we're tired of this shit. My voice started to get like more of that grown woman tone instead of that high-pitched, annoying, screechy sound. And all of a sudden, one day, I woke up and I had boobs. We love that for me, because I thought those were never gonna come in. But not only was I maturing physically, I was also maturing mentally. Like, I started having more of a, quote, mature mindset in a way where I started realizing I knew right from wrong, but like, morally, what was right and what was wrong. But you know, then you have freaking Lola who thinks that nothing is wrong with her and she doesn't need to work on anything. Well, with my grown and more mature mindset, I realized that Lola was an awful friend. And she became even worse whenever we went into 8th grade. She would say super crappy things to me, which was a given, but now that I had started to kind of stick up for myself and actually say something back to her when she would say rude things to me, she did not like that one bit. And actually, because of this, she would start insulting me, saying things like, stop wearing such revealing clothing, you look like a whore. Or she would be like, you shouldn't wear that, it shows that you're gaining weight, blah, 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 blah. It's like, girl, can you stop hating? Like, what the fuck? Like, can you not just be happy for me? Clearly not. And then she even starts insulting my taste in music and then everything else in my life. Anyways, yeah, you guys get the point. I was constantly being put down by her, but I was also constantly resisting the urge to drag her ass, literally. And you know, at this point in my life, I have a few other things going on. Like, my mom and I, we weren't really in a good spot with our relationship. Like, our relationship actually was probably the worst it had ever been. And I low-key felt bad because, you know, my mental health was at an all-time low. I had extremely bad anger issues, which would cause violent outbursts and mental breakdowns. But Lola was like an extreme trigger for me. Actually, if I'm being completely honest, she was not just an extreme trigger for me, she was the main trigger to everything that had to do with my mental health deteriorating. And in the beginning of 8th grade, I did have a plan to stop being her friend and distance myself from her a lot. But that was interrupted when I met my current best friend, who we are going to call Jamie. He came in as the new kid. He had big poofy hair, hazel eyes. He looked like a young Brian May. And he ended up being in every single one of my classes. And I'm not even gonna lie, it was like God sent him to me. And I know that sounds so freaking over dramatic, but like, he was the best friend that I had always dreamed of having. What originally drew me into him was the fact that he was wearing a Metallica shirt. And one thing to know about me is I am a metalhead slash classic rock fan. Like, I love Kiss, Queen, Metallica, etc. You know, all that good shit. But the teacher asks everybody in the class if anybody would want to show him around, and I immediately raised my hand because I knew I wanted to show him around. I knew that him and I were, it was like I felt that him and I were gonna be best friends. But this was not like me to raise my hand and volunteer myself for something like this. I know I said that before, you know, that I was coming out of my shell and it was easier for me to make friends, but I would never put myself on the spot like that ever in my life, especially for somebody that I didn't know. Anyways, so the teacher chooses me and that is that. And we clicked immediately. He was super funny, super nice, and we immediately bonded over our taste in music. Well, fast forward to 5th period, that's whenever Lola got to meet Jamie. Obviously, you guys can already guess. She had a problem with him. She did not like that I finally found somebody who has the same interests as me. And she especially didn't like that him and I were super close only a few hours after meeting each other. So, you know, fast forward to the end of the day, we're all heading to our buses, and that's whenever Jamie asks, hey, where's bus 23? And oh my goodness, my face lit up like a Christmas tree. And the look on Lola's face was priceless. She's like, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's my bus, that's my bus. And then, you know, we get onto the bus, him and I sit together. Lola, she tried sitting with us, but only 2 in a seat. So the bus driver yelled at her and kicked her out of our seat. Haha. The whole time him and I are sitting together, we're laughing, you know, bonding over everything. It was like we were twins, okay? We were going through our playlist and comparing songs, and it was scary how identical our playlists were and just everything about us identical. So I thought that Lola was fine with, you know, the fact that she couldn't sit with us. She went and sat somewhere else. I really think the only reason why she tried to sit with us was because she wanted to make sure that him and I weren't bonding too much, you know? Until I get home and I get a very long surprise text message from Lola telling me that I'm a backstabbing bitch and she hopes that my mom disowns me.
Who the fuck are you talking to?
How nice of her. Like, oh my God. I wish I had a friend like Lola. Just kidding. Honestly, at first, I was super pissed off at this message at first. You know how I told y'all that I have super bad anger issues? Yeah, so I definitely thought that I was about to go off on her, but surprisingly, I started laughing, and if you knew me, you probably would have thought that I was at my breaking point and I was ready to do something psychotic. But no, I just said, okay, see you at school tomorrow, and laughed it off. She definitely did not get the reaction she expected from me. That is a lesson I want all of you to take note of, okay? No reaction is the best reaction. I don't care. I know that people say it all the time and you're like, yeah, sure, whatever, mom. Like, yeah, my bully's gonna stop bullying me because I'm not paying attention to them. No. Take it from me, I'm telling you, no reaction, best reaction. Because it will eat away at somebody when they are trying to get your attention and you're not showing them anything at all. They're not getting anything from you. Whether it's online, in person, it does not matter. I know when I'm trying to get somebody's attention and I'm doing things on purpose and they're giving me no reaction, it eats away at me and it's like, what the fuck? Like, pay attention to me. Anyways, yeah, take that, run with it. I'm telling you, best thing I ever learned in my life. No reaction, best reaction. Anyway, so yeah, I didn't care about the text message that she sent because I had a best friend who was nice, cared about me, had the same interests as me, and just wasn't a douchebag. So I decided to ignore Lola the next few days and block her on all social medias. And then I ended up telling Jamie about Lola and like what the tea was between her and I. And he thought that it was hilarious, the shit that she would do. It just didn't take long before him and I were best friends. And I was so happy that I could finally talk to somebody that I could be myself around. And that I didn't have to like hide things from. Like Lola, I never told her who I liked. If I liked anybody, she would know. You would catch me dead than telling her. Because I knew if I told her, the whole world would know within like 0.5 seconds. The only weird thing is that Jamie never wanted me to go over to his house, which I thought was a little weird. I mean, I didn't have a problem with it, to be honest, because my mom loved him. Like, she thought that he was the sweetest thing. She would always talk about how respectful he was, and, you know, he was always opening the doors for us, asking if we needed help with anything, always complimenting the house, which he did not have to do because I knew the house looked like shit. And the only thing Lola would do she would just come over my house, eat all my food, and then leave. Which was super annoying because it was like, my mom and I didn't have a lot of money, but she was well off. So like, why are you coming to my house and eating all my food?
Why?
Anyways, besides the point. So yeah, whenever I would ask Jamie if I could go over to his house, he would just completely shut down and not want to talk about it. So I just stopped bringing it up because I didn't want to make him feel any type of way. Of course, you know, he's my best friend. So fast forward to 9th grade. Lola made herself a bunch of new friends and she even got a boyfriend. Which I say it like that because I just wasn't expecting it. Like, Lola does not seem like the boyfriend type. But anytime that she sees me in the hallways, she's giving me dirty looks, which was not needed. Like, our friendship was over. Like, leave it alone. Like, at this point, it's embarrassing. Move on with your life, girlfriend. You have all these friends and a new boyfriend, yet you are still worried about me. Make it make sense, because it doesn't. But anyways, most of the time I would just laugh it off. And thankfully I had no classes with Lola, but Jamie on the other hand was not so lucky. The only quote class that Jamie and I had together was lunch, and he would come to lunch and just tell me all of the stupid things that she would say and do in class to get people's attention. Like, she really thought that she was the main character. So, you know, everything that was happening was super harmless until October came around, and that's whenever things started to get bad, to say the least. So, you know, I get to lunch the one day, and Jamie shows up a little bit later than usual, and when he does, he has his lunchbox in his hand, but his face is like all red and puffy, and I'm like, okay, what the fuck is going on? And when he comes over to me, I ask him, I'm like, hey, are you okay? And then I remembered that you probably should not ask somebody who looks like they're on the verge of tears if they are okay, because he literally just started bawling. And then there was a counselor who was sitting on the side of the lunchroom, and she saw him crying, so she ran over, she asked him if he was okay and what was wrong. And like after 2 minutes of like choking and trying to catch his breath, he finally was able to say what was wrong. And whenever he did, I was extremely surprised because he had never talked about this before. He said that the picture in his locker of his sister who passed away was missing, and that was one of the only pictures that he had access to of her. Now, I noticed that picture before in his locker, and I kind of started to feel bad because it's like, I feel like a terrible friend for not asking who it was, but that's besides the point. You know, eventually he pulls himself together and he's like, it's fine, I'll just try to find another picture of her. Well, fast forward to the next week, this kid just can't catch a fucking break. Something else happens. We were at lunch and he asked me if I had heard the rumor. And I'm like, what are you talking about? What rumor? He said there was a rumor going around that his mom, who, by the way, I only met once, yeah, the rumor was apparently that she was a drug addict and she was the reason why his sister was dead. Obviously, this made Jamie upset because neither of these things were true. But of course, if you tell a bunch of freshmen a secret like this, instead of going to the person that it's about and asking them if it's true, they're gullible enough to believe whatever dumbass made up the rumor. So after we talk about it, he gets super angry, not at me, but he was just like, I know it was Lola, that bitch. So then he starts getting super upset again, and we're at my house and I'm like, okay, we need to tell the principal about this. Finally, he agrees, and we decide the next day that we're gonna go in and we're gonna tell the principal. And I thought that it was gonna be really hard to convince him because, you know, sometimes kids don't wanna tell the principal. They don't wanna be that one kid that runs and tells the adult whenever something's wrong. Nobody likes to be that kid, but at some point, like, enough is enough. So the next day we go into the principal's office, and I'm there for moral support, duh. But anyways, he told them everything that was going on, and he was visibly and understandably very angry while he was talking about this. And he told the school that his mom was gonna sue if they didn't do anything about it, which I know wasn't true because our broke asses couldn't afford that type of shit, but it worked. So the principal checked the camera, and what do you know? It wasn't Lola who went into Jamie's locker, but it was one of her little minions, Gabby. Well, in this video, you see Gabby walking over to Jamie's locker, somehow getting into his fucking locker. I don't know how she did because there was a lock on there, but when she did, she grabs this picture out, walks her scrawny ass over to the trash can, shuffles through the trash, and then puts his picture in there, and then puts all the trash back on top of it. Like, why are you digging through a fucking trash can? Fucking gross. But Gabby got suspended for 3 days for literal theft, and the rumors couldn't be traced to anybody, but our school had one of those T social media pages, of course. So those were taken down, but Jamie decided to deactivate all of his other social medias after this. And then, just when you think we got a break, nope, we do not get a break.
Hey, stop the violence.
What did you think this was? Not even a month later, another rumor goes around. This one was way worse and had way more of an impact than the one before this. So about 2 days before this rumor started, the 10th grade boys' bathroom got absolutely destroyed. I'm talking sink ripped off the wall. 2 of the toilets were clogged to the point where water was overflowing. There were writings all over the fucking walls, and in the biggest letters ever on the one wall, it said something along the lines of fuck me, Lola. And whenever Lola was asked about this, she was like, oh, it was Jamie. To be honest, I'm not really sure how that came about. But then the rumor started. Because, you know, apparently Jamie had an enormous crush on Lola. And remember how Lola has a boyfriend? Yeah, who we're gonna call Jackson. Yeah, well, later that day, before Jamie had even heard about this rumor that was going around about him, Jackson got wind of it, and he decided that he was going to beat the living shit out of Jamie. Now, just to give you guys a little picture, you know, just to set the scene for you guys, Jackson was a senior football player who was jacked, you know, super big. He had 5 inches on Jamie, and Jamie was one of those short, scrawny kids. So compared to Jackson, who was built like a grown man, Jamie was a child. Anyway, so we're sitting at lunch, and what do you know, in the blink of an eye, Jamie's on the floor getting his face bashed into the ground by Jackson. And I don't know how, but it took 2 minutes, 2 full minutes, for any staff to notice what was going on. By the time they did, Jamie's face was busted. Like, it was awful. There was blood all over the floor, all over Jamie, all over Jackson. It was terrible. Honestly, I thought the injuries were so bad that he could have died, which I know seems silly and so overdramatic, but listen, like I said earlier, grown man, child, they don't mix. Anyway, so the police end up coming to school, and Jamie was taken to the hospital while Jackson quite literally got arrested, like taken out of school in handcuffs and driven to the police station in handcuffs in a police car. But period, as he should. He didn't end up actually going to jail though. If anything, he just had a ton of charges pressed against him at the request of Jamie's mother, as she should. And then you got Lola saying that she was so brokenhearted about what happened to Jamie, and she was just like apologizing to me. Obviously, I knew this was all just a show that she was putting on. So soon I went to go see Jamie at the hospital, and he was pretty messed up. He had a swollen black eye, busted nose. I'm pretty sure that was broken, to be honest, which was low-key depressing because he had a super cute nose. But that's besides the point. It also went back to normal, so his nose is still cute. Anyways, his wrist was also super messed up from the way that Jackson attacked him like a wild fucking animal. But yeah, for pretty valid reasons, Jamie was traumatized. Like, when I would try talking to him, he would just make super light muttering noises, or he would just shake his head, nod his head, you know? Like, I felt so bad because nobody should have to go through what he's been through these past few weeks. Listen, y'all, I know that we always talk shit about the men on here. By we, I mean me. Okay? But when I was reading this, it made me extremely sad, because from the way that he's described in this story, you know, I think the stereotypical small kid who doesn't have too many friends, you know, really keeps to himself. And then you got the jag-off over here who's like fucking went through puberty at the age of 10 and looks like a full-grown man at the age of 14, picking on a child. All because he feels like he needs to prove his masculinity. Like, you embarrassed and physically hurt this kid. Do better. Anyway, so eventually Jamie gets out the hospital, thankfully, and I got a text from him at 2 in the morning saying that he wasn't going to be at school, and I did not blame him. I mean, I was sad because I was going to be super lonely, but at the same time, I understood. The first time that I had actually went to his house after this whole situation happened, I kind of figured out why he didn't want me going over his house. His house was super run down, very overcrowded, you know, there was stuff everywhere, but I don't really care about that, to be honest. I'm not one to judge. But his mom and I actually like got super close. She told me that she really liked me, and she was super thankful that, you know, she had me looking out for Jamie. She even tried to pay me, which I declined because, listen, protecting him is literally in the fucking job description of being a best friend, okay? That was the bare minimum. Well, fast forward to Monday, I met with the principal and his assistant since I was there and I witnessed everything. Also, there weren't too many cameras in the cafeteria, so I was able to tell them every single little detail of everything that happened. And I also told them what I thought happened because I'm very opinionated and I will let you know. Even if you don't ask, I'm gonna tell you. Especially in a situation like this. I told them, I was like, I think Lola's behind all of it. Think about it. Gabby stealing the picture out of his locker. The rumor happening a week after. Like, come on guys, it's not rocket science. Because also, Gabby didn't even know Jamie. So she had no reason or no vendetta against him. So then she was called down to the office and she's denying everything at first. Even blaming all of it on me.
Bruh.
Like, girl, wall. And then all of a sudden she starts crying and confessing to everything. She said that she heard Jamie say his locker code to the teacher, and that's whenever she paid Gabby to go to his locker and steal that picture. She heard Jamie crying in the cafeteria about his dead sister, and that's whenever she decided to make up the rumor, you know, the fake murder story. And then Gabby and her were the ones that destroyed the bathroom and wrote all that shit on the walls. And do y'all want to know how she thought she was going to get out of this? You guys already know. I don't even have to tell you. She goes, my brother died.
Like, no one cares.
Girl, take that shit somewhere else. Like, we don't want to fucking hear about that shit no more. If it's that bad, go join him.
You need to leave!
Okay, that was a lot. I'm not gonna lie, that was a lot. I apologize. Anyways, it was hilarious because you just see the principal's jaw drop like, that's your excuse for doing all this. Be fucking for real. So then the authorities are called again, and so were Lola's parents, which were just as bad as her, let me just say that. You could definitely tell that they were the ones enabling and making excuses for this behavior, which them trying to do that didn't even fucking help because Lola had already got into it with the police officers. So anything that her parents said at that point didn't matter. So as I'm talking to the police, telling them everything, it is literally like a scene from a movie. She is in the back screaming bloody fucking murder. So not only was she expelled from school, but I'm pretty sure that she had to pay like fines, like I think like $10,000. And then Gabby was expelled for a year. And she was rich, so her parents tried to sue the school, but I'm not sure what came of that. And then Jamie finally came back to school a month and a half later, and we haven't talked to either of those girls since then. Sadly, Jackson still goes to our school. He did end up eventually apologizing to Jamie, but that was that. And then Jamie and I's moms are actually like low-key besties, so we love that. Jamie also got himself a girlfriend, which okay, Jamie, I see you. And she's literally the sweetest thing on earth. And at this point, I really consider Jamie to be like my brother. I know this low-key sounds crazy, but him and I are thinking about starting a band with our friend Dallas that we had also met. Anyway, so we graduated this year as seniors, and we have come so far from where we were. And as for Lola, I have no idea where she is or what she has going on in her life, and nor do I care. Besides, I think she either deleted all of her social media accounts or blocked me on everything, but good luck to you, babe. Okay, everybody, that is the end of today's story time. If you guys like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more of me, hit the subscribe button down below. And if you want to know whenever I post my next video, make sure to click that bell. Also, if you guys want to send in your anonymous story time, or you want to know how to send in your anonymous story time, make sure to click the links down below in the description. Also, if you guys would like to keep up with me on any of my other social medias, they will also be linked in the description as well. Other than that, I will see you guys next Saturday with a new story time.